Just want to take a minute because I commented on something earlier from an administrator in high school sports, and he meant well, and he was trying to talk about a particular situation, but then he tied it in with like kind of the current state of affairs in high school sports. And I think high school sports is at a place where we've been in the business for over 2.5 decades. So I think I would say it's safe to say we've seen the comings and goings of a lot of different mindsets, mentalities, and parents and teachers and coaches and administrators along the way. And the rules change all the time. It's very difficult to try to coach kids because they're getting coaching from so many different places, and they can fact check. If they want to go out and get the best level of coaching, they can go on YouTube and they can figure it out for themselves almost. And if a coach isn't going to be mindful of understanding the development process for a student, and I'm not saying it's their fault, and I'm not saying it's the parents' fault either or the administrators, but the bottom line is it's an evolving place to be doing business, so to speak. So if you're not staying up to date with what's going on with the NCAA, if you're not staying current with what's going on in travel sports, if you don't know what colleges have going on or what they're expecting from their student athletes, if you don't understand the recruiting process, if you're not educating student athletes on that process, if they're interested in playing in college, then unfortunately you're a part of the problem. And it's not that it's easy, but if you're going to get in and be a part of the solution, then you can't be blaming anybody. I mean, it's not worth it. You're going to get nowhere. And if you're an administrator, you definitely can't blame people. And I'm tired of listening to people complain about parents and complaining about, or even complaining about coaches, or you're complaining about teachers or whoever's involved. If you're going to be a part of the solution, you cannot start by blaming people. So understand that none of us are perfect, and we're all trying to, or hopefully trying to work towards helping the student athlete be prepared to compete at the highest level that they want to. We always hear the field is an extension of the classroom. They announce that at every sporting event. And if that's the case, then what we should be doing is preparing kids to be able to play for as long as they want to at the level that they can. Now, that doesn't mean that everybody gets an opportunity to play in college, but you can certainly try. And we've had kids that didn't start in high school that are Division I athletes. We've also had kids that started in high school that couldn't make their Division III team. So it really just means maybe you're going to be the manager in college. There's nothing wrong with that. I mean, maybe you're going to play club sports. It's about lifelong athletics for people. So you're trying to build skills that last you the rest of your life, because you might be on a corporate team later on in life. You might be playing tennis with friends. It's something that's healthy to do socially. So it's not just building somebody for now. Also, with that being said, if you're a high school coach or a club coach, then you need to be concerned about the health and welfare of your student athletes. And if they're doing the right training, if you're overtraining them, or if you're under-training them, or do they understand what they need to know about getting prepared for the next step, the next stage? And unfortunately, it is very difficult. It is probably easier to solve the most difficult New York Times crossword puzzle than it is to actually navigate the majority of the recruiting processes for college athletics. There's so many different rules, it's impossible to be prepared. The majority of guidance counselors, high school and travel coaches, strength coaches, you name it, all of us out here have no clue, or we have a little bit of a clue, or we used to know, or I think because of the way that I was recruited or the way that I went about the college athletic process way back in the 90s, that I think that I know what it's like. It's completely different from then. It's not the same at all. If I went based on that opinion because I was a Division I athlete, that I know what it's like to be a Division I athlete these days, that's a fairy tale. That doesn't exist. You need to stay current with what's going on, and this is the most important thing. You need to put the student athlete first. That's what we're here for. And whether or not we want to, agree or disagree with it, we have our jobs working with student athletes. They are, in a roundabout way, your boss. So there's no need to complain about them. Let's not talk about how they don't work hard or whatever. They're on probably 7 different teams. How many teams were you on when you were a kid? They've got 6 different coaches. Everybody's telling them to listen to them. Everybody's telling them that the other person's wrong. And we tell kids in here, hey, listen, you need to be honorable and you need to respect your coaches and whatever it is that they're saying to do. If you need to sit down and talk with them after in private, then that's a whole different story. But it's about understanding how to work with people, even when a lot of times they're not going to be right. And because you can go on YouTube and look up the best techniques that are out there, if a coach doesn't stay on the cutting edge, if they're not like a few of the coaches that we work with where they're literally throwing themselves headlong into a ton of hours and work, you're going to be behind what your student athletes already know. Although you might think that they're lazy, you might think that they're not applying themselves, they might know more than you do. Because that's how easy, they can look up something in about 2 seconds and find out whether or not, it's the most current information. And a lot of people say, well, there's a right way and a wrong way to do stuff. There's a lot of different ways to do things. And now we're getting into like people understanding how flow works more, and that's around play. So if you don't have kind of a play environment at your practices and your games and your sports development, then unfortunately you're probably not getting anywhere near to their full potential because they're not tapping into flow. And so there's so many different things. Nutrition could be a million times better. We're not even talking about nutrition. Are we talking about rest? How about the coaches who have like 5:30 a.m. runs and different things like that? So we're going to sleep deprive a kid because we don't want them to be going out or doing something the night before. So instead of addressing the issue of making better decisions with their social life, we're going to make them get up early and then put them at a deficit for recovery, and then we expect them to be able to perform at a level higher than we probably performed at ourselves. So this is not a rant, but it's just to try to educate people a little bit more. The wall behind me doesn't even, it's the tip of the iceberg of the schools that we've had kids go to and play at. And also, here's the other thing I'm just letting you know. Like, stop telling kids that they can't go do things. If they put in the work, if they work hard, if they're good enough to do it, then they can do it. The problem is, we have a lot of people that think they're experts on talent evaluation or work evaluation or somebody's potential, and we are evaluating that based on what? How many people that you've had that have gone Division I, Division II, Division III before? How many engineers you've worked with before? How many, whatever the case is. Like, if you're not qualified at doing something, then get qualified or stop giving out free information or information that you're supposed to be more well-versed on to actually give feedback on. And unfortunately, we just have a lot of people that are not really completely aware of what's going on, and they're just giving out information. And again, if you work with student athletes, stop complaining about the student athlete, stop complaining about officials, stop complaining about parents, stop complaining about coaches, stop complaining about whatever, the NCAA, the whoever it is that you're complaining about. Like, if you're just gonna sit there and blame everybody, you will not be a part of the solution. I repeat, you will not be a part of the solution because you can't be. And it can't possibly be just the coach's fault. It can't possibly be just the parent's fault. It can't possibly be the athlete's fault. Maybe things aren't as bad as you actually think. It's just a matter of education. Unfortunately, I can't have the same discussion with somebody who doesn't know the NCAA rules on recruiting if, like when I talk with a guidance counselor, most of them just don't have enough college student athletes coming through to really know what's going on. So you really can't have a discussion with them. But until they get a certain baseline knowledge of what's going on, and then you can. And if, believe it or not, most people want to learn, so like send them some information, help them get on board, help them understand what's going on. You can't just sit there and say, wow, this is terrible. And we've been in the area that we are for a while, and we're still trying to educate people. We still have people think that we're, that we're an elitist club or whatever. All we're trying to do is help kids become as much as they can become and educate them on the possibilities and on making good decisions. Do they all make good decisions all the time? No, they're kids. Parents don't make decisions that are good all the time. Coaches don't, teachers don't, administrators don't. But we expect them to be perfect from day one. And we also have this view of what we thought we did when we were younger. And unfortunately, I think it starts to fade with age, and maybe it gets a little bit brighter in some areas, and we think we worked so hard, or maybe we were just foolish with the way we worked, so we had to work harder because we couldn't work smarter. Bottom line is there's better information out there now, and it's more readily available. So everybody's training should be smarter, but it's not. But I don't run around and just complain all the time about how foolish it is when I see somebody come back from college or come back from their high school program, and I look at the program and I say, wow, this makes no sense developmentally. They're going to be hurt before they even get halfway through the summer. Or what are they really trying to do here? Unfortunately, the person who made it, maybe they were trying their best, but they just didn't have the best information. So, in summary, let's try to get better information to the kids, to the coaches, to the administrators, work collectively, try to talk with each other. Try not to think, I gotta make myself look good because I'm an administrator or I'm a coach or I'm a teacher or I'm a parent. And also, let's keep in mind that the parents are the ones that go home with the kids, but at the same time, they might be the people who spend the least time with the kids. So that's just enough with the finger pointing. Let's try to help the student athletes out. That's what this is about. Pick up, your phone and look up the NCAA rules. Talk to coaches. When you get a chance to talk with a college coach, talk with a college coach. There are, like I said, there are several kids who could play in college at several different levels if they get into the right spot and if they find kind of their thing, their niche, whatever it is that they do. And there's nothing wrong with not playing college sports either, or just playing club sports in college, So let's keep all that in mind. Sorry for the long story here, but I think everybody can benefit from trying to help out a little bit.